So this here is a project I've been meaning to do for God knows how long. This here is a Hornby Dublo Ringfield motor. This has been taken out of a Hornby Dublo 8F, which was totally cooked when I bought it. 2 of the 3 poles were totally black, which, if you know anything about how a motor works, that is not good. It's clearly had a current overload, or it's stalled or something. It wasn't good, and I had no hopes it'd run. I have here some 0.2mm enamelled copper wire, and this is generally what's used in these Hornby Dublo motors. So today, I'm finally going to rewind this thing. To disassemble a Ringfield motor is very easy. You've got these springs which you use to take the brushes out, which I do have set aside. They undo these 4 screws here, and I used to drop out the armature. Now, if you don't know how a DC motor works, basically, you've got your carbon brush, which is where the positive charge comes in, which makes contact with this, which is the commutator. That goes through a magnet wire, which is wound up in such a way that I don't quite know how it works, but it generates a magnetic force and comes out, say, through the next commutator plate, and that magnetic force interacts with a permanent magnet. And the forces repel and attract, and that's what causes it to spin over. An AC motor is very much the same, but they use an electromagnet instead of a permanent magnet, otherwise it would just stay in place, because AC, obviously alternating current, is constantly changing direction, whereas a DC, it just goes in one straight line. It's a really funky thing, these things. I love working on them, but basically, if you overload the current or run them at too high voltage, then the coils will wear out and it will no longer work. And rewinding is a craft that's not exactly very well known or practiced very much, but it's something I've been wanting to try for a while, because if I can get that down, I can save basically any model train ever without having to buy a replacement motor. So that's what I want to give a try today. I've already taken all the coils off the armature, so it's a matter of putting them all back on. So this is my second attempt, but after having a look in the Wren device, I still haven't figured out how to pronounce that, but after having a look in the Wren Castle, I found out the way you wind a Dublo motor is you start with a bit of wire hanging from the bottom on your first pole, and then you start to wrap it around, and then the other end, once you've done the correct amount of windings, which for me, I counted 155, you solder that to the commutator plate. So, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but there is a bit of wire just here. Okay, I showed that pretty well. That's not going to get soldered to anything just yet, but once I've done the 155 winds for this motor, the other end will get soldered to the corresponding commutator plate. So if you give me a moment to do that, I'll get back to you. Okay, that is wind number 55, and you can see already how that's starting to add up. And like I said, once we've got all 155 on here, we'll solder the end I'm holding to the commutator plate. And then this other end, once I've done the other 310 windings, I'll show you what we do with all of these. Okay, so with 155 windings in, excuse me if you see my ugly face, you can now solder it to the commutator. Okay, that took way longer than it probably should have. If I snip that, we now have one pole wound. You are trying to get the poles done tightly, which I think I've failed to do in some areas. But if this thing works, given how fucking bodgy it is, that'll be enough for me. So now we start on the second pole. I'm going to snip off this burnt bit of wire. I'm pretty sure it's as you try to solder, it will melt back the enamel casing, which is there's no need for stripping it. So what you want to do, remember I said we left a little bit of wire on the other end? Well, before you wind the next pole, you want to twist these 2 bits of wire together which is what I got totally wrong on the last attempt I made at this. And of course, when you start on the third pole, you will do this again. There we go. And then once we've done all 3 poles, we will solder these together. Okay, so I actually ran out of wire midway through, so this pole here with less coils, that only has 90 winds on, whereas the other two have the full 155. I severely underestimated the amount of wire I had left, like this is literally it. But come this far, so I've soldered it on. So now I'll just show you all how you're meant to solder a little overhang, and we'll test this thing. So if you recall, remember one end does not connect to the commutator, the others are wound together. And is my iron still on? Yes it is. So literally just solder all these together, which I don't know how effective my iron's going to be at that, because it's just a piece of 20 quid shit I got from Amazon in 2021. Come on, you can go in. Maybe I could have done with a bit of flux. Give me a moment. Right, I've done all the cleanup work now. The motor does turn over. So, not really much else to do but get some power on it and hope it fucking works. Here I'm going to be using my Hornby System 90. Let's all just cross our hands, cross our fingers. Have we actually got movement? Okay, well we did have movement. It did work. Well, we did have movement. I'm absolutely going to be attempting this again. Yeah, it does move. I will absolutely attempt this again. Might be to do with the fact that one of the poles has less windings like the other two. But it works. I might get some lubricant on it first. Okay, yeah, put a bit of lube on the spindles. I really don't know why it's doing that, but it's not shorting. It is turning over. So I think that's where I'll leave it. We gave it a shot, and the result was definitely better than the first time I attempted, which I have not recorded, sadly. Yeah, gave it a shot and got a result. So I'll order up some more wire and we'll try again next time. But I've got a better understanding of how the Dublo motors go together, so I'm pretty confident we can pull this off.